When it comes to starting a marketing agency from scratch, most people go about it the absolute wrong way and they make it way harder on themselves than they need to be, including me. And so in this video, we're gonna be breaking down my story of how I grew my digital marketing agency, Landscape Marketing Pros, from being broke in my crappy one-bedroom apartment in Fargo, North Dakota, where I was struggling to pay my $640 a month rent while driving a car that didn't have heat. And if you know anything about North Dakota, you know how cold it gets. And so recently I sat down with Mark Kelly, who's the owner of Inbound Revenue, and we went over my story of how I got the business started from those very humble beginnings to once I got things going and started building momentum, scaled very quickly from zero to about 6 to 7,000 or 8,000 monthly recurring, to very quickly going from 6 to 8,000 to 10 to 12, 15, 20, and consistently over the past couple of years being at $30 to $35,000 in monthly recurring revenue. What I highly encourage you to do is take notes and watch through this, pay attention all the way through to the end, because there's a lot of tidbits and tips and tricks that I, as an agency owner, really wish that I knew back in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, where it was just a struggle fest for those entire years. And I want you to be able to bypass the pitfalls, the stress, the headaches, the embarrassment that I faced because I did things wrong for a very, very long time. So without further ado, let's hop into the interview and get this thing going with how I started my agency and grew it from zero to 30,000 plus in monthly recurring revenue.
Hey, this is Mark Kelly, the Inbound Revenue. I have today Matt Wacek with me. I'm honored to have him with Landscape Marketing Pros and the Niche Agency Blueprint, which you want to check out. Hey, Matt, nice to see
Hey,
you.
thank you very much for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit about those things. You can start with Landscape Marketing Pros, what you do, how long you've been at it, and those sorts of things.
Sure. So got my start with really business as a whole, 2011, started a landscape company. Had that for about 5 years and wanted to transition out because I just was ready for a new change. I didn't like the snowmobile aspect of that business when I was up in Minnesota because you couldn't really leave if there's any chance of snow. So transitioned into online marketing 2015 or so. Got my start with actually selling ebooks on how to start a lawn and landscape business. And then that transitioned over to wanting to sell services because I knew the higher ticket service with marketing, digital marketing was definitely profitable. So it took me a while to kind of figure out how to transition the right way with shiny object syndrome coming at me with e-com drop shipping and affiliate marketing, all sorts of stuff, Facebook ads, everything that you could that was trending back then was popping up in my feed and distracting me. And so 2016, I finally decided to do an agency, and I thought, okay, let's just try roofing contractors, let's try window companies. I mean, every home service industry you could imagine. And then I 2017 came across a guy that was actually only working with roofers, and so I decided to brand Landscape Marketing Pros back in August 2017. And then it took me a few years to really dial things in and get my first couple of clients. I think I got my first actual paid client in 2019. And then 2020 kind of got going with some actual structure with the actual service programs that I was selling. 2021 had my first six to $8,000 monthly recurring revenue from there. 2022 finally got things to take off with my sales and that sort of stuff, and scaled to about 25,000 a month there. 2023 had a really good year, scaling to about between 27 to 35,000 most months. Had one month that was about 42,000 in revenue, and really just been focused on consistently just growing my recurring revenue with Landscape Marketing Pros from there. And as the name entails, that's who my company works with, landscape business owners that ideally do a lot of just the hardscape, landscape installation, the design work, all that sort of stuff. A lot of really happy business owners that love what we do for them, and they're be able to become a lot more profitable as a result. And so that's where we're at here now in 2024.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm taking notes because we talked about so many things and I want to jam pack as much as I can in here. One thing
Sure.
we talked about earlier was how you had systems in your marketing or in your landscaping business,
Mhm.
and then you carried that over into your marketing business, and I assume into the niche agency blueprint as
Mhm.
well. How important are systems in business in general?
Oh
And
yeah, I mean it's very critical because especially when I once I realized that niching down is I don't want to say it's easy, but it's easier than working with a chiropractor one day, a roofer the next, and so forth. Because when you can systemize everything and it's the same work being done, like the websites are built pretty much the same exact way, the services, you're not having to like it's the same 15 to 20, maybe 30 different services for every single client. And it's just that over and over and over again. And it's just very systemized and the way I look at most businesses is it's just like an assembly line. Like with Ford building their trucks, it's the same product comes out every single time, and you ideally want to have the same thing with the services that you sell. And so obviously there's some variabilities that can come into play with services, but still it's just when you have things structured, you have things organized, and you have like a nice timeline, spreadsheets, all the things just detailed of like, okay, this is what happens when after the client is onboarded. This is the first five things that we got to do. Then here's the schedule from when we're going to send out reports and how we're going to build a website, all that sort of stuff. And when it's all documented, it's just easier for a future employee to come in and they can manage it, and then they can have future employees underneath them manage it and do all the work, and everything just gets done easily versus I mean, I've worked jobs where there were no systems in place and you're asking your boss, like, how do I do this? How do I do that? And it's just a nightmare.
Yeah, it's always better when the exceptions are very few. Something comes up that you may have never dealt with before, but 95% of things are going to be things you've done all the time.
Mhm.
Now, we call it productizing our services. Is that a
Yep,
term that you're comfortable with? Okay, cool.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that in my mind, that offers huge benefit not only to the agency, but to the client, because clients think they want customized services, but A, you can't really afford those because customized marketing is really expensive.
Mhm.
And B, you get the advantage of the productized service because if you're like us, you do the same thing over and over again and you know how to dial it in. Maybe you can
Mhm.
speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So with productizing, it's huge, especially when I kind of figured out the sales aspect of it, and it's weird that it kind of ties in. But what I figured out is customers are coming to my agency and they need help. They want the problem solved. And when you have this system here, this whatever the program may be, whether it's SEO and website design, getting reviews, it's all compiled into one thing. They see it as like, okay, this is what's going to get me stuck from being at $250,000 the past 3 years in revenue and help me get to 500K next year and possibly even 750 the year after that. So when they see that you have a product, essentially is what they're buying, as opposed to it being a bunch of collection of services that they don't understand anything about, they see it and they want access to it. They want to purchase it versus it being just the a la carte buffet. And it's just a win-win for everybody because it's easier for the agency side to do the work and get everything done. It's also easier for the client because it's just they see it as a what do you call it? Like a just a flip of the light switch and boom, it's ready to go. They don't have to do anything. All they have to do is make sure their credit card gets charged each month on the same date.
And what services do you guys offer at Landscape Marketing Pros?
So yeah, there's two programs. The first one is website SEO and getting reviews. That's kind of the condensed version of it.
Mhm.
The next one is just Google Ads only. That includes the Google Ads, the landing pages, the call tracking, all that sort of stuff. And then the third one is all of it combined. There's a little bit of a price break for the people that do in fact sign on for that. So my focus initially, because I knew the longest term, like the longest long value or long term value was going to be the SEO. So that was my big focus for the
Mhm.
past 2 years. Now I'm seeing like, okay, ads is a pretty good program, nice and profitable, and it's helps get leads quicker for clients too. But yeah, my main focus, because I spent a lot of time doing SEO with building like lead gen SEO websites from 2016 through 2020 in a variety of home service niches, because that was kind of how I learned how to do local SEO was through that. And so I really like that aspect because I know I can predict when they're going to be able to get results, when the leads are going to start coming in, and it's something that the clients really like too because I explained to them like, okay, yeah, you can run ads, but the cost per lead is going to be a lot more than organic, but the organic side is just going to take longer to start working. So you're going to weigh that out. But yeah, a lot of clients, like I've had some clients been on board for over 3 years now with SEO, and I absolutely love it. I mean, we hardly even get a chance to talk because they're so busy, and they just keep on board because why turn off something that's working? So yeah, I really like both aspects, but if I were to choose one, it'd be SEO.
Well, of course, I would choose Google Ads because that's what I've always done. But people ask me, or clients or prospects or just business folks will ask me, what marketing should I do? And I usually just say all of it,
Yeah,
do
yeah, I
all
would
of it,
say yeah,
and
both. If you
then
can afford
figure
to
it out.
do both, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unless you have capacity issues or try it. Not everything works, which is an interesting point. As a marketer, you know this, but a lot of businesses I find don't know this. Is like everything we do doesn't always work for ourselves, much
Hmm.
less all marketing doesn't always have the effect that you think it's going to. So you try
Hmm.
different things until you find the channels that work best for your business. Or you find the offer that works best or the service. The client has to have a good service to offer as well.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, yeah, there are some clients that I could see SEO taking a whole lot longer, and that's where I would steer them in the direction on the sales call. Like, hey, let's do ads first. Yeah, it's going to be more expensive, but SEO is going to be, I mean, SEO, the thing I also say is like, it's just like planting a tree. The best time was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. But there are those occasions where they only got this much budget to work with, but they need to get work coming in. So ads are going to be the way to go for that. And now with some of the clients that have been on board for year and a half, 2, 3 years, and they're starting to grow and they want more leads. But that's where I'm kind of starting to introduce maybe throwing on ads and things like that, because then it's just additional work they can get in where the website may not be ranking for quite yet. So there's definitely that opportunity there. And I'm trying to push. I mean, obviously I want to maximize long-term revenue from each client. So that's definitely something there, but also helping them grow as much as possible.
Well, yeah, I like the complementary nature of the two. And I'm going to steal that line about the SEO and the tree, when to plant the tree. That's a great line. I'll build that into my
Yeah.
sales presentation. Um, so we'll segue a little bit, I guess. First of all, where can people find that your landscape marketing business? What's your
Yeah,
domain?
so landscapemarketingpros.co, so just .co is the website. There's when I was looking for it, .com was taken. I was kind of bummed, so I had to just go settle with that. And then my agency's YouTube channel, Landscape Marketing Pros, I think right now about 5,400
Nice.
some odd subscribers, and finally have a video editor now, so I'm going to be able to have trying to get weekly content on that channel because it's probably between 50-50 with where clients find my company is through YouTube or through Google search. And so the ones through YouTube are always some of the best leads. They're the most interested. They're like, excited to be on the call because they're like, I watched your YouTube video, love what you had to say. I love seeing your testimonials on there. And it's just, it really warms up the audience. It makes it a whole lot easier to close because they're familiar with you and all that sort of stuff.
That answered the question I was going to ask, which was what marketing channels work best for you. And I can confirm when I talk to someone that's watched me on YouTube,
Hmm.
they already have a relationship. They already
Yep.
feel comfortable. I literally just we're it's not even a sales process. They've
Yeah.
already decided typically at that
Hmm.
point because they've seen what you do. So let that be a lesson to you folks out there that don't have a YouTube channel yet. So let's segue into talking about the niche agency blueprint. So many things we could talk about there, but talk a little bit about that program and then specifically how you watch out for fake gurus because there's a plethora of them out there and how you avoid the shiny object thing. And of
Sure.
course, what you cover in the niche agency blueprint.
Sure. Absolutely. So I'll start with the shiny objects term just because that's kind of the starting spot before someone kind of narrows in on something. There's so many different opportunities out there. You can make money in every single one of them. There are millionaires in every single possible business model out there, not just teaching it too, but I mean, just people that do Amazon FBA that make millions of dollars and everything else out there. You really just, I mean, for me, my focus was I needed recurring revenue. I wanted to be able to sleep at night easily, knowing that everything's paid. There's money that's going to be consistently coming in on a like clockwork with clients' cards being charged on the same date each and every single month with Landscape Marketing Pros. And so that's why I started with my agency because of that. And I also had the skill set of knowing the landscape industry because I had that landscape business for 5 years and worked in the industry 5 years even before that. And so having that really helps a lot. And then just wanting that income. I know there's so many different businesses out there. There's TikTok and all these other things are shouting at people. And I think the agency model is really, really good. There's a reason it's popping off so much with YouTube and things like that, where people are talking about SMMA and digital marketing agencies and all these sorts of things. And because it's a good business, especially for someone getting started. So I think you just got to narrow in and then just tune out everything. Turn off crypto. Don't focus on stocks or Amazon FBA or affiliate marketing, any of those things. Just focus on getting your first client, figuring out how to do that. So as far as like the program niche agency blueprint that I created, I wanted to compile something into the person that was in my position back in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, trying to figure this stuff out. No idea where to go, no idea how to sell things the right way, how to market an agency. Like I was just kind of thinking back to 2016, being at like a coffee shop because I couldn't even afford to have internet in my apartment yet. I was living in Fargo, North Dakota, and I was trying to just cold email all these companies like for roofing businesses and window contractors and all that sort of stuff. And I didn't know anything about that industry, like with roofing, and I've never even stood on a roof to my knowledge. And so like I didn't know that industry at all. And so basically wanted to compile all that information that I've learned since then, in addition to the systemizing process with the landscape business, how that's translated over to really just creating an agency that builds a nice sustainable recurring revenue that you can count on every single month. So that way you can sleep good at night. Because like those years when I had no clients and I was just trying to rely on like a little bit of affiliate commissions and some of these other things at like maybe less than $1,000 a month, it was a nightmare. So if I can help even just one person build, and I have so far actually hit 11 or 12,000 bucks in revenue, and the impact that that has with somebody to go from nothing to that significant amount of money is huge. So yeah, the lesson program is really just the first aspect is how to think. I know it sounds very cliche because a lot of courses do that, but it's something that I really needed to figure out too. And it goes into even more so about how to eat the right way, how to structure your work, how to actually get work done. Because most people, they sit down at their computer, there's 20 tabs open, they have Facebook, their phone is somewhere near them buzzing with 30 different notifications. I mean,
Right.
you gotta, yeah, I'm upstairs in my house. My phone is all the way downstairs in the master bedroom. It would take me like a minute to get there. So I want it as far away from me as possible. And that segments into the service program, setting that up, the branding of your website, setting up the YouTube channel, because that's going to be the absolute best way to get clients for an agency. I mean, there's Instagram and TikTok and that sort of stuff, but what I found with those short form videos is it doesn't attract the business owners you actually want to have as clients, because the business owners, especially in the home service industry or even medical, law, professional services, whatever, they're not sitting around watching minute long TikTok videos. They have things to focus on in addition to their business that probably does $500,000 a year or more. They also have a wife and kids and family, and their
Mhm.
kids do sport. They're not going to sit there and waste time on TikTok. So long form videos work extremely, extremely well to do that. And that's one of the things
That's a
that I
good
teach in
point.
that.
Mhm.
Yep. And then another whole module dedicated to sales. That was the big shift for me from going like being stuck at 6 to 8 thousand bucks for an entire year to very quickly getting to 25, 30, $35,000 in monthly recurring. And so that's a huge section. And then also just keeping clients on board and how to actually get the work done the right way. So, and then there's also a couple other things to throw in with like just like what I like to call lifestyle leverage. So using the right credit cards to pay for all your business spend so we can go take trips for free, whether that's flights, hotels, and that sort of stuff, and how to manage the profits. Because a lot of people don't really know what to do when you have money coming in. Like a lot of people ask me like, how do I pay taxes and how do I do all these sorts of things? And so I just kind of guide. I'm not obviously not a CPA, but like give
Right.
insight on how to do that.
One of the things that you mentioned there, I think, is underplayed a lot of time in business in general and marketing in particular, is how important it is to manage your personal mental and physical health because you
Hmm.
are the company and you're going to have a lot of things coming at you, clients and ideas and your team if you have one.
Hmm.
And it's super important to manage your energy levels, your health, and I'm not going to lecture people on how to do that. There's lots of great programs, but
Hmm.
it's something to definitely be aware of.
Oh,
Uh,
without a doubt. Like because those first few years I didn't take care of myself at all. My sleep was terrible. I'm still trying to dial in my sleep even nowadays, but I wasn't working out like I should be and that sort of stuff. And it's night and day difference when you can actually get the good amount of sleep. Like I even recently, like, I remember a few like a stretch, I only got like 5, 6 hours of sleep, and then I got back to a normal schedule, 8, 9 hours. And I'm just like, this, I feel so much better. I can work way longer. I can stay focused. I'm not distracted. I'm not hating everything, because if I'm overtired, I hate everything. I don't want to do any work, especially at a computer. And so, yeah, people really underestimate that. Same thing with the food, because like what you put in for your fuel to fuel yourself is everything. It's like if you were to put in like I'd rather put in race fuel into a vehicle rather than just crappy pump gas. So
Oftentimes we're sitting in front of computers large stretches of our day, so it's really
mhm.
super important. And I have access to my kitchen, it's right over there. So
Yeah.
that's a thing I need to be aware of myself.
Yep. And I would say one thing for anyone watching is if it's not in your house, you can't eat it. And because like I find myself, I go buy like some like a pack of, I don't know, protein bars, or like even like organic cookies or whatever from Sprouts or Whole Foods and that sort of stuff. If I see it there, I'm going to end up eating all of it. And then, yeah, I'll go to the gym and I'll do squats and deadlifts and burn it off. But it's like, if the only thing that's in my fridge is ground beef, ground bison, elk, and then some fruit, that's all I'm going to end up eating is those things because that's all I got because I don't want to go drive to the store or anything like that. And so biggest thing is if it doesn't even make it into your cart, then you won't be wasting your time or money eating it. So
I'm with you
um,
there.
yeah.
I don't own anything right now that I can't eat as part of my diet. If I want something, and it's okay sometimes if you're monitoring things to go enjoy yourself, I do it
Mhm.
inside the house. I have to make a conscious effort to go get that thing. And trust me,
Yeah.
I think about those things, but at least I can't just walk out in the kitchen and grab it when I'm, and this agency life is a bit of a up and down ride some days.
Yeah, it really is. And especially because like some days you may have a bunch of sales calls stacked up, other days you have nothing and there's really no true obligations. And especially if you look outside and it's nice and sunny out here in Florida, like you and I both are, it's easy to just want to get distracted and go outside and that sort of stuff. And also being able to, well, there's that aspect, but then also the emotional side of it of like if something goes wrong or like there's a software has an issue and you're frustrated and it's screwing things up, like you got to be able to, if you're not eating the right way, you're not sleeping, you're not gonna be able to mentally handle those things, and you got to be able to because you have to be able to stay level headed with everything because otherwise the train's gonna go off the track.
I'm curious. This is a little off track here, speaking of going off track, but one thing, how do you, well, this isn't, I'll ask this question, then the one I was going to ask. Do you address how to build a team with in your course?
So at the moment, no, because for me right now, I am solo with the business. So
Hmm.
I do all of I mean, with the exception of some contractors, like for video
Hmm.
editing, for the white label providers,
Okay.
for Google Ads, for SEO, and so forth. I mean, I'm at this point now where 30,000, 31,000 right now, and able to just to sustain it with me doing the work. Granted, I did learn a lot of skills with copywriting, so I do a lot of the text, actually all the text content for clients' websites because I'm really, really picky with how that looks. And so if I get to, I think probably maybe 45, 50,000 in recurring, then I'll
Mhm.
probably bring somebody on that I can kind of train as I'm not really sure what I would replace quite yet. Probably text creation, things like that, and just other admin stuff just to save me some time. But as far as right now, nothing in for building a team quite yet because I'm not at that stage.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious about, I'll ask the question I was going to ask you, or I'll sort of something we run into is because I have an account manager and a team, and the
Mhm.
account manager will often come to me with the client says this, and I'm like, okay, let's stop a second. Did you validate what the client said before you brought
Mm.
that to me? I don't know
Yep.
about you in the landscaping business, but we have clients in a variety of spaces, and sometimes they ask questions, not understanding exactly, how things work. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
Give you an example. My calls are down. Well, they don't understand that we do maybe their Google ads. They don't understand that they get calls from direct, they get calls from organic, they get
Mhm.
calls from their advertising elsewhere. And I'm like, well, let's validate that. Let's stop a second and see
Mhm.
if this issue really exists. Do you run into that and how do you address it when you do?
Yeah, at the very beginning I did. I had a couple of clients that were really, I don't want to say a headache because it actually was a very nice learning experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I found that when you sell the right way and you sell it as this magical lead delivery system, that you really don't
Mm-hmm.
run into a whole lot of that. And I think it just comes from prevention of a lot of those things, and also kind of telling them in the sales call if it comes up or even during onboarding or whatever it is that hey there's some fluctuations depending on the industry you're working with. Of course with landscaping it's March to 4th of July is extremely busy, then it drops off, then it picks up a little bit in the fall, and then it drops off quite a bit at Thanksgiving till about after the Super Bowl. And so most of them understand it, especially if they've been in business 5 to 10 years, they know the waves and so forth. And so um, they can understand, okay, hey, it's mid-August. How come everything dropped off? Well, all your customers, they went on vacation. They're getting their kids ready for school. They're not really thinking about landscaping as they were back in March. And as far as that, like I try to really just reduce the likelihood of that happening by talking to them on the onboarding call if it comes up, or even during the sales call too, because sometimes they'll ask that. And just selling it, it's crazy to think, but just the way that you frame what you're selling
Mm-hmm.
completely erases so many headaches. And because 2021, I didn't have that in place. And then late 2021, I did. And then all the clients after then, it's been so much easier to work with because the clients aren't looking at I mean, they'll look at their calls and that sort of stuff, but they're not looking at the rankings and like, oh, why'd we drop 3 positions for landscaping near me? Why'd that happen or whatever? Because they're so slammed with work and I try to also teach them and instruct them that, hey, we're selling you an access to a potential ROI. We're not selling you rankings, we're not selling you advertising, access to potential ROI. And if you're turning that $24,000 a year or $36,000 a year into $250,000 in new revenue, I'd say that's a win. And even if they're only making 75,000 off that 36,000 investment, like that's still pretty much breaking even. So I found that eradicates a lot of those issues and just makes my life a whole lot easier as an agency owner.
Yeah, absolutely. Framing during the sales process, which goes back to the productized service type of thing, because if you do have a system, you've got a productized service that you know works,
Hmm.
you start explaining that during the sales process, and it makes it very easy. I feel like people sometimes think I'm going to limit myself.
Hmm.
Well, it is true that you will maybe not take on some clients that want something outside of that, but it's actually okay, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Not to
without a
take on
doubt.
some clients.
Yeah. I've had, because I actually I spent a good little bit of change on some Facebook ads this fall to bring in some clients just to see what would happen. And so
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember some of these calls just going back through them, but a lot of them were asking about doing social media. And it just so happens that that's when I was running ads on social media that they were asking this. And I don't do any social media whatsoever when it comes to landscape marketing pros with the
Mhm.
client work there because I learned back in 2017 when that was really popular doing Facebook ads for local businesses that you had to have a really good offer. And even then, it still wouldn't really work that well because you're competing on Facebook against people getting into political arguments and seeing what their friends are up to. They're interested in that sort of stuff. And then on
Yeah,
Instagram, they're looking at chicks in bikinis or whatever it is that they're interested in. So it's really hard to make a landscape business or roofing business, whatever that type of offer that you have, get that to stand out. And
right.
so I figured, why would not just go with the path of least resistance? There's the buyer intents with Google search. And so that's why when a prospect asks, like, hey, do you do anything with social media? Because we want to have someone manage their social media. I should say no. And then I'll usually show them some of our clients who we have testimonial videos with
Mhm.
who have the last time they posted on social media was February 2021. And then since then, they've grown from 300K to a million plus in revenue. So, yeah, it's you do kind of you limit yourself to an extent, but I mean with one niche with your agency, you could have 150, 200 clients and still be barely scratching the surface because like in Minnesota, I've lost track how many I want to say 6 clients throughout the metro
Mhm.
area and then some of the other outlying areas. And that's I mean, I think some of them were on the lower end of like the 1100 to 1500 range, but other ones are 1750 to 2K a month. And I mean, there's 10K a month just from one state right there. And
Mhm.
so that's one out of 50 states in the entire country. And that's Minnesota's not even that big of a state compared to say Texas and so forth. And so I think the opportunity with the niche focus agency is absolutely gigantic if you stick with it.
Can you give us can you wrap up with a quick summary of like what the course offers and then where someone finds your course?
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, if you're somebody that is trying to get started without having to deal with a bunch of BS and falling for nonsense and having to do a bunch of weird strategies, all that sort of stuff, program goes through just how to think as a business owner that ideally makes 6 figures, how to operate your life, how to do all those sorts of things, how to set up the business structures, going into the branding side of it with your website and how you do that, how to set up your YouTube channel and actually create the content, how to get it so that it will actually show up. Because when people see you as an authority, it's just an easy sell when it comes to the sales call. Then getting into the actual services that you're selling to your client, packaging those up as a product, so that way it's either you get to to your clients, you buy product or program one, program two, and if they don't want to do that, then they can just go somewhere else, and you'll have another client lined up. And then from there doing the sales aspect because and it's a huge module. It takes a long time to go through. I recommend every single student go through it at least 2 to 3 times of all the training to understand everything that's going on because it's a huge mind shift to learn how to do it the right way. And so that's a very big aspect because then once you have that, you can go very quickly from barely making any money to more money than you'd ever seen. So then from there, going into just maximizing client retention. So how to how to structure the website the right way, how to do the SEO and who to work with for Google Ads and that sort of stuff. And then also how to do the client reports, setting those things up, how to do onboarding and just about every single facet that I can possibly think of within managing my business. And I'm always adding new content too. If I get new ideas or if there's a new sales call that I just did that went really well, if I want to do like a play-by-play of it, I do that, load that into the training, and we have weekly coaching calls as well. And yeah, just want to make it an environment where people can actually succeed with the business and have a nice sustainable revenue because I think that's what a lot of people are after versus just these crazy one-off sales or whatever with Amazon FBA and things like that. And so, best place for the people can find me would be Instagram. It's mwasic614, or otherwise you just type my name, Matt Wacek, that'll come up on there. YouTube, Matt Wacek is my channel name. That's another spot there. I'm trying to post as much content as I possibly can. Got an editor now, so he can crank out videos pretty quickly. The turnaround time should be good there. And then also Facebook as well. I try to somewhat check messages, but it's pretty rare that I do. There's just so many other things going on that I don't really get into DMs much. But I have a Facebook group. It's called the Niche Focused Agency Owners. And I'm in there pretty actively too. If people ask a question and I happen to see it, I'll try to answer that there. So yeah.
Beautiful. One thing that I recommend new agency owners when they get their first client, as much as you love that client and want to take care of them, I always recommend they start looking for their second client
Hmm. Yeah,
while you still have that first one.
absolutely. And I forgot to even mention that in the course, I do have a whole module on how to get your first client because that was the way I did that the wrong way. I'm trying to ask for money without anything proven and that sort of stuff. And well, I actually ended up working for free for I think 3 clients and they got testimony videos or it was free and then very cheap. Like we're talking just like built the website, but did everything I possibly could with SEO to get them ranked. And that turned into testimony videos. And then from there, that's what sprouted everything else. And so, yeah, you can never really let off. And I did do that, unfortunately, with YouTube because I was focused on the personal channel side of things and then just growing the agency that I let off the throttle on the agency YouTube channel. And now it kind of steered that back in the right direction of consistent content. But yeah, you got to stay consistent with everything. And so that's why the first aspect of the training with the mindset and the how to think and how to operate is so important because you have to be consistent with everything day in and day out.
Absolutely. And Matt, it's been a fantastic conversation, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you,
All right.
sir.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you for having me.